Team at the NBA's Walt Disney World campus. Westbrook announced last week that he tested positive for the coronavirus before the Rockets' departure and was feeling well. His coach, Mike D'Antoni, said that he anticipates that Westbrook will be at full speed soon, but probably not participate in Houston's scrimmage Friday, adding his vote of confidence that Westbrook is probably in better shape than anyone on their worst day. True story right there. Max, how could Westbrook impact the Rockets' title chase?
Well, in the first place, the timing of when he got the coronavirus works out for the Rockets, really. Because assuming that once you get it, you can't get it again, at least not right away, or you're unlikely to. Westbrook should now be available to them, barring some unforeseen injury, for the rest of the season, and that includes the postseason. So Westbrook they're going to have, and that's one of the two pillars of that team, along with James Harden. Are we sure we can say the same for every other team? Remember when coronavirus first hit, at least I thought, and I'm talking to people, I think the thought was out there that, like, maybe I can get it early, and then I'll get over it, and then I can kind of re-enter society, right? And then, of course, it turns out it's dangerous. It can be fatal. Who knows what the lasting effects will be? It's not societally responsible because you don't want to overtax the system if everyone gets it all of a sudden. And so people are kind of disabused of that idea. But the kind of principle remains the same. If you've already had it, you feel like, and you come out okay, you feel like, okay, you're kind of freed up. Whether or not that's actually true, at least that's the feeling. So now the Rockets have one of the two pillars of their team who it seems to me is there's a high likelihood will be available for them. You don't know that, and I don't want to start mentioning teams and names, but we can all think of teams in the NBA. And, of course, you can miss a key role player. I get all that. But we can all think of teams where it's like, if one of those two guys isn't available in the playoffs, they're finished. You know, very few teams like the Warriors, when they lost KD, you could think, well, as long as Klay stays healthy, maybe they'll still win, right? There's almost no team like that other than maybe the best team ever put together. So Russell Westbrook, forget about the play. The fact that they use him as kind of like a micro ball center because he's where they get all that stuff. And when he stopped shooting the three, which he wasn't hitting so much, he could get back to playing like at his most effective. He's been amazing, especially as the season wore on. So forget about just that. Just his availability, especially in the presence of a situation where not everyone might be available, is going to really help Houston.
So, Molly, you remember first started and I said that Max be all over the place? Well, for the last 2 minutes, he just confused the hell out of me because he went from the coronavirus to
sock puppets next time.
Russell Westbrook being in the paint. And so my thing is, Molly, can you repeat the question, the question, please, so I can answer the question that you asked?
Sure. How could Westbrook impact the Rockets' title chase?
Okay, cool. So this is how Russell Westbrook is going to impact them. Yes, he's dominating the paint, but the key piece about Russell Westbrook.
Perk taking hits right there.
That's
Max,
called
you wanna
cosmic
jump in?
censorship, Molly. That's called cosmic
Please.
censorship.
I knew you were going to say something
Perk.
like that. Max, I know
right?
you have plenty more to say, so go ahead while we get Perk back.
Well, look, the Rockets were always built, when Daryl Morey took over that team, the question was, in a league where they haven't been able to attract a superstar there, how do you get one? He found an undervalued one in James Harden and then hired a coach that made best use of Harden or really exploited everything Harden could do. And you have to give Morey a lot of credit for going out and getting Westbrook. You know, it turned Chris Paul into Russell Westbrook, Paul coming off a bad season. And when he did it, he got rid of Clint Capella, and I and others thought, well, he's going to have to replace Capella somehow. But he didn't. They really did go what they're now calling micro ball. They really do use Westbrook as a kind of hybrid point center. So the fact that and he's doing it, like the question, as I mentioned about LeBron and AD, LeBron gets all this credit and he deserves a lot of it for an MVP caliber season, but maybe a little too much in the sense that Everyone any team ever that's had 2 MVP caliber players, they're always a powerhouse. They're always a conference powerhouse at the least. If they don't make a serious playoff run, they have a great regular season record, always. So when you look at Westbrook and Harden, it's not just the way they use Westbrook, but the level he's still playing at. If that's not MVP caliber, it's the next thing to it.
So, here's my thing. What Russell Westbrook bring to the Houston Rockets that they've been lacking over the years is that Mamba mentality, that motor, that engine. What Daryl Morey did this summer by trading Chris Paul and going to get Russell Westbrook, he backed out his Rolls Royce. He seen that the check engine light came on and it needed service. He took it to the dealership, and instead of getting a basic oil change, what he did was he put a Ferrari engine in a Rolls Royce. That's what's happening right now in Houston, because James Harden know that he has a history of disappearing in the clutch time, and I think a lot of it has to do with him having to carry the load. Well, he don't have that problem no more, because he have a guy that one thing we don't question about Russell Westbrook is his durability and his mental toughness and his mindset, the way that he plays the game. That's why the great Kobe Bryant blessed him with the Mamba mentality. So with that being said, I think that Russell Westbrook is going to get the best out of James Harden. Look, they're childhood friends, and by the way, they've been to the finals together. Having Russell Westbrook on your team, I was on that Oklahoma City team with James Harden and Russell Westbrook when we went to the finals. And walking into the arena and knowing that you got Russell Westbrook, this guy who's going to bring it every night, this guy that gives you swagger, it ups your confidence, and it makes you lace up your shoes even tighter, because you know he's going to hit the ground running. And I believe he holds James Harden accountable. That's why he lost 20-plus pounds during this pandemic, because he know that Russell Westbrook is going to be on a different level. The pace is going to be up, and I think this is the best thing for James Harden, was adding Russell Westbrook. Not because of what he brings on the court, but his mindset.
Look, if they were to win a championship, it'd be amazing together, because don't forget, on that Oklahoma City team, one of the reasons you had to use Harden off the bench is because Westbrook and Harden were redundant in a way, and the team did not play as well with them on the floor together as when they weren't on the floor together. It would be amazing if this came full circle, and all these years later, having to play on the floor together in order to get have a chance to win, they could actually pull it off. The Rockets, as usual, have a puncher's chance in these playoffs.
Well, Max, they were young then. They were still trying to find their identity of who they were as individuals. Now that they're older and both of them has accomplished everything that they needed to accomplish on the individual side, and they know the only thing that they need to do is win a championship, and now that they're older and mature, they're going to find a way to make it work. And that's why I do have the Rockets as my dark horse contender, because I believe the style of play that they have, 2 former MVPs still in their prime, it's going to be an AAU-type setting down there, pick-up ball at its finest. And who plays pick-up ball better than anybody than the Rockets? Nobody.
No question. Nobody can put up buckets like them. Westbrook and Harden averaging 62 points per game. That's the most by a pair in NBA history. I can